All right. So for those of you joining, I'm gonna make a mix here. What I did, I played a couple shows this weekend. On Saturday, I warmed up for Magda. So if you're into techno, you've probably heard of her. She's out from Berlin, one of my favorites. And I got to do my second warm-up gig with her. But because it was her that was playing, we couldn't really record the set sort of thing. You know, some strict rules against doing that with certain artists. So I thought I would recreate what I did as a mix, because I have those tracks on Tractor and I know what I played. So I thought, instead of doing it privately, why don't I just do it publicly and give this YouTube thing a test. I think I turned on the chat here. Let me see. Well, maybe I didn't. Hold tight. I'm going to turn it on now. So if you're around, how do I enable it? Super chat, enable. I'll call it music software. Hang tight, guys. I'm just setting this up, I guess. And you're just looking at Ableton right now. Sorry about that. But don't sweat it. We'll get started pretty soon. Email address, stuff here. All right. I accept all live streams. You don't have any recent super chats. Well, that's true. But live streaming. Why does it look like I'm not streaming? Oh, here we go. All right, there we go. We're live. So now I can see if anyone is in here. Just hit hello so you can hear me or see me or whatever. You're not seeing me, but you're seeing my screen. And I'll go ahead and just kind of get started, and feel free to ask questions or whatever. And I'll just bounce in every once in a while and check what you're asking. So it looks like 4 people are either watching or listening or not or whatever. So it's all good. I'm going to do this regardless. So if you're interested in just hanging out, feel free to ask me any Ableton questions as well. We can do the, kind of a Q&A at the same time. If you guys don't know me, I run musicsoftwaretraining.com, and I've written a best-selling book called The Mental Habits of the Music Habit of Electronic Music Production. That's what it is. And you can find that on Amazon. It's usually like, if you just type in music production, it'll come in the top 3. It's pretty popular. It's got some great reviews. So I did that, and I run a record label called Punchis Records. Actually, my partner in San Francisco runs it. I kind of started it, and I produce, I release. I've had, excuse me, 3 different #1 releases, EP releases on Beatport in my genre, which is more like minimal sort of stuff. So this mix is going to be a bit more in that minimal, deep tech kind of vibe. But if you haven't done this, it's not that hard to do. So figure, why not do it with you guys? Okay, so a little bit of setup here. What I'm going to do, jump into audio effects, and I'm going to drag in the EQ3. If I right click, there should be, yeah, we got it set to flat response. I'm going to duplicate this a couple times and drag this over to audio 2. And where did I drop these? Oh, and drag this over to audio 1. And what else? On the master, I'll drop a filter. And for now, we'll just turn that off. So what we're going to do, just get the automation. Oh, wait. Let's turn that off for a second. Turn on the automation. There we go. And there we go. So that's pretty much as simple as the setup is. Don't need to get much more complex than that. And now I just need to check out my playlist. You won't really see it until I drag it in, so give me just a sec. All right, opening track. Is I'll drag in the first 2 tracks actually, or even the first 3 tracks, since I see them all here, I think, yeah. Well, let's do its thing. See if anyone's in the chat. No one's in the chat, no big deal. Wait, I don't want all that, I just want one. There we go. Nope, actually I want this one here. And I got to warp these tracks as well. This is going to be the second track, so I'll put this in channel 2. This will probably be back to channel 1 here, just so I kind of know my order. And turn on warping. And just real quick, I'm going to try to find this stream on my phone just to make sure everything's working. Let's see. My channel. Live. Let's see. Yep. All right, we're cool. Awesome. So let's go ahead and warp this. So first thing I do is I put a marker right in front of the first beat. Pretty simple. And then the trick is to right click and set this as 111. There we go. And do that there. And this is saying it's 120. Oh, you know what? I'm going to take this to 121 for the master. It looks like it's fairly lined up, but I just want to double check. There we go. So we'll correct that a little bit. And we'll go all the way to the end. And yeah, there we go. Let's pop that, hit save. Now this will be in sync with the tempo here. What did I just warp? I think I might have warped a different track. Yeah, it looks like it was this one, which is fine. I'll just come here and warp this track here. And since this one, the beat doesn't really come in till later, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of find where the beat is. Like here's a beat right here. And I'll move that over kind of right on the start, actually maybe right here. See if turn the metronome off. That'll just confuse things right now. There we go. That's so I'll turn that one off, and I think probably another one in the very beginning. Yeah, I'll get rid of that one as well. So to make this easier, I'm going to do the same thing, set to 1. That's actually going to cut off everything in the beginning, but we'll get back to that in just a second. First thing I want to do is just kind of dial in this here, and if we dial this in, then everything else will kind of line up better. And as we do this, it'll get a bit more accurate, I think, as we go. Here we go. A little off here, so I'll just move that over. And see how we're doing here. There. Cool. So that should be good. Now what I'm going to do is just drag this over. And just do that. That way it's lined up at a actual bar section here, so a little bit before. And now I'll just put a marker here. I wonder. Oh, there we go. Yeah, well, doesn't want to let me do that. That's fine. As long as this is, yep. And then yep, that's lined up. Cool. So there's track 1. Track 2 is here. We'll go ahead and warp this track as well. Also, not a bad idea to keep an eye on the number over here. Oh, that's kind of weird. There we go. Keep an eye on the number here. And usually when this hits like a 0, 0, you know that you've kind of got it close. See, now we're getting closer to 119. It's still just a little bit off. Try that there. It's 119, so that's probably correct. So I'll just go to the end and see if there's anything I can correct at the end, which looks like there is. And there we go. It should be pretty awesome. And I could actually get rid of these in the middle because just having the front and end. You know that the tempo is going to be the same for electronic music all the way across. Unless it's like a vinyl rip or something, then that'd be something different. I think right around here I was starting to mix this in here, and we'll just click here for volume, and put a little curve here. Back that up a little further. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the mids and I'm going to kind of slowly back them off over around that long, and then also the volume I'll start backing off around there. So that's a mix number one. Good so far. This will probably come in right around here. That's what's great about warping, is once you know that, you kind of know that certain things are falling on a grid or whatever. And this I just kind of want to be blended as well. So I don't really need to do any major editing work just to get these mixes to work. It's not rocket science here. Yeah, something like that. I like to put like a dot here at the end, that way all this movement that I do as I fade things out, it goes back to 0 or near 0 for the next track. So any edits that I do, as you notice here, this here is EQ. Oh, yeah, this is EQ, so I should probably not even mess with this right now. This is the EQ, and obviously I bring it back up to normal by this time. That way I can fade it in or do whatever I want here. And volume-wise, let's re-enable that. And as you can see, we got our volume here. But I'll do a little bit more mixing here, just a kind of a fade in. See how that works. Oh, looks like, yeah, I turned the mic off, so all this time I was just dicking around, realizing that I haven't got all the songs, because I had added some other songs in my laptop that I had in other folders and stuff like that. So I'm going to just get this next track here, because the track after it I don't have, and I don't want you guys to have to wait. So yeah, I'm just going to take this on. So I'm warping this track, and once again, double click there, get rid of that first one, right click, and set 111, and try to drag things in. Keep an eye on here, see if it goes to 0, 0, which it normally does, not every time, but that usually lets me know that we are in the pocket. Yeah, 123.99, so we're getting closer already. Move a little further out. And there we go, we nailed 124. So now I can usually come all the way to the end. And just do one final little drag. There we go. And then save it. Actually, I haven't saved all these at the same time, so what I'm going to do is just do a Command A, just a little pop-up, whatever. And then, oh, I'm going to change this over to Complex Pro, because might as well, better quality. And then I'm just going to hit save here, and that'll save all of them. So, done deal. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Instead of having the filter on the master, I'm going to drop it on both tracks, because sometimes you want one to be filtered and another one not to be filtered. So kind of like mimicking a DJ mixer where that has two different filters, which is what I DJ'd with. So for example, I can have this going here if I wanted to, like, let's see, something like this. And I can have this set to, let's say, 120, 130, something like that. There we go. And then what I might do is, let's highlight this section here. I can turn this back up just to give this moment more impact. what's up with that, but there we go. You hear the difference here? And then what I could do here on this track is kind of slowly lower the lows on here. So I think I'll wait till about here. And slowly bring that down. Here, just grab since it's an on-off, do that, and now the bass from this song will come in. Get back over here to, actually, let me jump back over to the lows, and then as usual, bring things back up for the next track. And what I can do here also is I could back off the lows. So start it off a little bit lower and then really kick it in right here. Bring that up to 1. That's good enough. There we go. Just so it's not quite as much of an impact. You can do the same thing with the volume. Kind of grab this section right here. Just so it's a bit of a smoother transition. Shout out to Chad if you're watching. Thanks for the comment. Always appreciate it, and you're very welcome. Always happy to help. Yep, there we go. That sounds smooth. So, yeah, we're about, let's see, about 19 minutes in on about an hour and 40-minute set that I played. So I'm going to leave it at that, but just a couple things to refresh here is, first, you got to warp your tracks as you bring them in, of course. Typically what I'll do is I'll just zigzag between track 1 and track 2. Sometimes when I need something extra, I'll have something on track 3. Now that'll sometimes smooth out certain transitions and things as well, or add a little bit of interest if there's like something a little missing. So yeah, later in the mix there will be some of that, because there were parts of my mix that had more than 2 things going on at the same time. And that kind of helps add momentum, and sometimes you can add like a certain theme, like a recurring sort of groove or whatever. Then the next thing is using the EQ3 and dropping a filter as well. And typically what I'll do is just have the filters kind of set for the most part. This is set to like 380 or something like that. And then I just turn this on or off when I want to use that filter, which kind of just basically blocks out all the lows and a little bit of the mids, just to create a little tension. And that is generally how easy it is. You know, it's kind of an intuitive thing, right? But you don't need to make it complex unless there's a problem that needs to be solved. And then, then you try, some other tricks. But usually it's kind of like start with your volume, and if the volume's not doing everything you need it, then get to your EQs and figure out what needs to be smoothed out with those. And then after that, if you need to filter something, you can run into that as well. So there we go. This was just a quick experiment. I hadn't done a YouTube live before, and I want to start doing YouTube lives a little bit more regularly, so I figured I would just do this. So I ran out of the songs that I have on this computer that are from the mix, or at least I don't have the next song that's in the mix, so I'll have to come back and finish this up. Maybe I'll do another YouTube Live, just finishing this up. But understanding these basics that I've already done will get you through most of your mixes anyway. Another thing that you may want to have is some sort of medium to long reverb and maybe a medium to long delay as well that you can use as return tracks. Just also another thing to smooth out transitions and stuff. And there are things that you would normally use in a DJ set as well. So there you have it, guys. I'm gonna cut out of here. If you have any questions, feel free to drop your questions in, and I will be happy to help you guys out since I've got Ableton open. Otherwise, I'll just stop. So I'm just gonna call this, that's another song there. Let's just drop this on the desktop, and I'll call this Jason Timothy 7/7 mix. So jumping over to the questions now. Let's see. You should consider having a familiar a cappella loop in some parts of your mix to create interest and something people recognize. You know what? I get that, Curtis, right? Yeah, I get that. But to be honest, I tend to move towards things that aren't familiar, as opposed to having pop music or familiarity dictate what the DJ plays. I like the artist and the DJ to kind of dictate the new things that are going to inspire and perk interest in people's heads. So my job is to do the same thing that an a cappella loop might do without using something that's obvious, you know, to pique attention with things that are new for the most part. I'm not saying that familiarity is a bad thing, you know, especially if I'm doing like an old sort of set, like, you know, like if I'm doing an 80s or a 70s DJ mix or something like that, then familiarity is kind of part of that game, unless I'm, you know, pulling out a bunch of obscurities just to share with people some great tunes that people don't listen to as often, right? But for my electronic stuff, I do try to keep things a little bit more underground, and for that reason, and also as a way to distinguish myself from everyone else out there, I try to pick and choose songs that I find interesting that people haven't heard. So it's just a different mind perspective. There's no right or wrong answer to that sort of thing. Obviously, regardless, you're bringing in elements from songs that have either nostalgia or a familiarity, but they're not the same song. You know what I mean? They just, you might be able to hear the influences of something that's recognizable in a new song. And that just kind of flips it on its head a little bit. So anyway, any other questions, feel free to drop a question in. Otherwise, I'll shut this down and call it a day. And yeah. And I've been on here actually longer than I expected to be. Time really flew for me while I put this together. So yeah, it probably would have ended up being like a 2.5 hour thing doing this mix. So yeah, doing 4 tracks, showing you how I warp. Feel free to watch this over if you missed anything. And also feel free to drop questions if you're watching this on repeat, because I'll go in and definitely respond to any questions that you have. Once again, I'm Jason. My website is musicsoftwaretraining.com. And I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Now, let me just find my page to stop the stream, and take care of yourselves.